Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. We will start today's proceedings of the launch of the Global Al-Farabi Forum and the award of the Kazakhstan National Award to the Coordinator General COMSTECH with the recitation from the Holy Quran. I request Qari Kausar Mahmood to recite the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين آمنت بالله صدق الله العظيم.
The Chief Guest, His Excellency Mr. Yerzhan Kistafan, Ambassador of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Excellencies from the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished Vice Chancellors, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you briefly to today's function that has two parts. The first part is the launching of the proceedings of the Global Al-Farabi Forum. Abu Nasr al-Farabi, as I'm sure we are all aware, was a great thinker and a pioneer of the early Islamic philosophy, and indeed a bridge between the learnings of the ancient Greek civilization and the early Islamic world. He was not only a bridge across both space and time, spanning many cultures and many eras, but also that he is recognized widely, even today, as a pioneer in the efforts to establish the compatibility of Islamic thinking with contemporary philosophy and learning. And as such, Al-Farabi retains his relevance and his importance for the current world, the Muslim world, which is searching for answers to many such questions. Al-Farabi was born and lived much of his life in what is now Kazakhstan. So it was only appropriate that the government of Kazakhstan, along with the rest of the world, celebrated his 1150th birth anniversary in 2020, recognizing Al-Farabi as a symbol of the universality of knowledge and learning, which was the hallmark of the early Islamic civilization. COMSTECH organized this international symposium, the Global Al-Farabi Forum, in December 2020, with the partnership of the government of Kazakhstan, the Al-Farabi National University, and the OIC General Secretariat. This was a time during the corona, and it's had to be a hybrid event. However, we were successful in having the contributions, the valuable contributions from international participation from all over the world, from the USA, from the UK, from Germany and Qatar and Kazakhstan, and of course, Pakistan. These lectures were of a very high quality and quite unique in their spread and in their depth. And so it was felt important to combine them and to have them and to collect them and to publish them as not only a remembrance of the event, but as a valuable contribution to the storehouse of Islamic knowledge and learning, which has, of course, many importance in today's world. So these collected lectures have been compiled and they are being launched today as the proceedings of the Global Al-Farabi Forum. That was the first part of this event, and we are very happy that the second part of today is Professor Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Chaudhry, the award from the Republic of Kazakhstan, which is called the 30th anniversary of the independence of Kazakhstan award. This award would be bestowed on Professor Chaudhry on the recognition of his many contributions to the science and higher education of Kazakhstan. Professor Chaudhry, who is also the director of the International Center for Chemical and Biological Sciences at Karachi University, has a long association with Kazakhstan, where he has been mentoring the research of many generations of PhD students at the Al-Farabi Kazakh National University in Almaty, Kazakhstan. And I will leave it to the ambassador later on to describe his contributions and award. We'll also have in this a speech or a lecture by Professor Nazir Mahmood, who will be talking briefly about the contributions of Al-Farabi and the proceedings as we have compiled them. So with this, I would hand over the microphone to the Professor Iqbal Chaudhry, the Coordinator General of COMSTECH, to welcome the guests.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, boys and girls, more fondly our chief guest, Mr. Yazan Christophan, to whom I call younger brother. He's ambassador of Republic of Kazakhstan in Pakistan. Professor Dr. Nazir Mahmood, a renowned scholar, and my very distinguished colleague, Professor Dr. Sayyid Khurshid Hassan, advisor, COMSTECH. We are very fortunate to have with us members of the diplomatic corps from various embassies, including ambassadors, first secretaries, and other very distinguished diplomats. We also have rectors of various universities. Some of them are part of the COMSTECH Consortium of Excellence, and they are actively engaged in various activities of COMSTECH for the benefit of Muslim world. We have officials from Ministry of Science and Technology and also from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, very distinguished scholars, and other very valued guests. With this, I would like to first convey that this is indeed a very important occasion, because this represents COMSTECH commitment to highlight the contributions of great scholars who have defined what science is today. And Abu Nasr al-Farabi was certainly one of those scholars who has contributed immensely in the development of science. And as Dr. Khurshid mentioned, he was a bridge between East and West, Europe and Asia, from contemporary Islamic thinking and scientific methodologies. It is indeed an honor for us at COMSTECH to welcome the chief guest, Excellency the Ambassador of Kazakhstan, and all the distinguished guests to the launching ceremony of the Proceedings of Global Al-Farabi Forum. I must say that this proceeding represent one of the best collections of original writings based on presentations and lectures on the contribution of this great scholar. As you may know that this global forum was held in December 2020. It was the end of a year-long celebration of the Al-Farabi year, which was declared by the UNESCO as Al-Farabi year also, and led by the government of Kazakhstan, and in collaboration of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Secretariat, and Turkey Academy. We organized this event with 120 participants, as mentioned by Dr. Khurshid, along with many hundreds who attended this event online. We were delighted to welcome Excellency Ambassador Askar Musinov, Assistant Secretary General of OIC for Science and Technology, Excellency Dr. Darkhan Kader Ali, the President of International Turkey Academy, and also permanent representative of Kazakhstan in OIC. While my very dear brother, Professor Dr. Mutanov, the ex-rector of Kazakhstan National University, Al-Farabi National University, has delivered his presentation online. So it was an excellent event, which was attended by a large number of people seeking knowledge and understanding about the contribution of Muslim scholars, and presented by some of the most renowned scholars who knows Al-Farabi's contribution from the depth of its meaning. Today, we are launching the proceeding of the Global Forum based on those scholarly contributions with the objective of create a legacy of this great scholar. Your participation in this launching ceremony testifies the significance you place to the contribution of renowned scholars of all times, including Kazakh scholar Abu Nasr al-Farabi, which had a great impact on both classical and contemporary sciences. He was a man par excellence, a scholar of multifaceted talent, and a man of towering personality. Al-Farabi stands high in a lineage of great scholars who came from Central Asia and spread their knowledge so far and wide. He is widely regarded as the founder of political philosophy within the Islamic world. He was a believer of enlightened Islamic thought, which promoted the denaturalization of ancient Greek heritage in Eurasian region. He made seminal contribution in the field of logic, physics, metaphysics, music, and politics, as well as he wrote important commentaries on both Plato and Aristotle. Al-Farabi became one of the first intellectuals to lay the foundation of modern scientific method of experimentation and measurement, and being utilized, which is now utilized in modern science today. He was the actual creator of natural sciences, and his contributions are now recognized at all levels and in all regions of the world. Following philosophers, including Ibn Sina and Ibn Rushd, worked on his lines of thought, which greatly influenced the philosophy of Spinoza. Overall, Al-Farabi's philosophy played a central role in the development of social and philosophical ideas, not only in the Near East and Middle East, but also in Europe and in North America. Impact of his work is enduring and everlasting and transcends beyond the realm of science and goes deep in societal transformation in Central Asia and Turkey world, and far beyond the borders of these regions. Ladies and gentlemen, we at COMSTECH are proud to celebrate the contributions of these great scholars as the testimony of the great knowledge-seeking tradition of our religion, Islam, as the duty of all Muslims, and knowledge which benefit humanity. Iqbal Forum is planned in near future, which would actually represent Iqbal's impact on contemporary science, philosophy, and history of the Muslim world. We're also planning to have a global forum on Mirza Tughlaq Beg, astronomer par excellence, who laid the foundation of modern astronomy. He hailed from Uzbekistan. Ladies and gentlemen, a few words about COMSTECH. COMSTECH was established in 1981 through a resolution of Islamic Summit Conference in Makkatul Mukarramah, Saudi Arabia. The President of Pakistan is the chairman, and Prime Minister is the co-chairman of this prestigious organization. It is one of the ministerial standing committees of OIC, which in the OIC system has special stature and importance. COMSTECH serves as the observatory of science and technological development of OIC countries. For each member state, all 57 of them, we observe closely what developments are taking place in the field of science and technology, what breakthroughs are made, and what significant contribution towards science and society has made in these countries. Today, we are going to launch, along with the proceeding of Al-Farabi Forum, this booklet on Kazakhstan, which actually represent wonderful contributions and major development of science and technology in Kazakhstan. COMSTECH core mission is to determine scientific and technological needs and requirement of Ummah and build indigenous capabilities of member states. And develop collaboration and mutual assistance. Along with this, COMSTECH archive collective strength of science and technology for the inter-Islamic cooperation. And this makes COMSTECH Pakistan's only intergovernment organization with footprint in 57 countries in 4 continents. It is also being only OIC institution chaired by Pakistan. COMSTECH is committed to not only promote scientific and technological capacities of our brother sisters in 57 member states, but also play a key role in Pakistan's science diplomacy initiatives. I'm very pleased to report that in 47th Council of Foreign Ministers meeting, which was held in Niamey, Niger, and second Science and Technology Summit, which was organized by United Arab Emirates 2021, the new activities and programs of COMSTECH were widely appreciated. These declarations also emphasized the key role which COMSTECH has to play in the implementation strategy of science and technology. We, with the support of the presidency and many partners within the OIC system and beyond the OIC system, has initiated major programs. Let me just very briefly tell you that we have established this COMSTECH Consortium of Excellence, which comprise of some of the finest institutions in the Muslim world in different countries. Recently, Middle East Technical University become part of COMSTECH Consortium of Excellence as well. We have launched COMSTECH fellowship programs, and these are fellowship programs for women scientists, for young scholars, for refugee and scientists in conflict zones, in collaboration with the International Islamic Organization for Security, International Center for Genetic Engineering Biotechnology, the World Academy of Sciences, and UNESCO. So there are various fellowship programs which are extremely important because they build capacity of younger people, and their emphasis is largely on least developed countries, mainly in African region. The COMSTECH network of viral disease diagnostic laboratories in 16 countries is now in the process of establishment. We have already initiated activities and it's going to be supported by the Islamic Development Bank. We are training, we initiated a science and medical technical personnel training to build their capacity. So there is a technician training program and also health science professional with the Health Science Academy. The Vice Chancellor is there with us. He has very kindly offered to train individuals coming from OIC countries in key healthcare technologies as well as in various other disciplines of public health. Similarly, the Lahore University of Lahore is also offering a number of various technical training programs. We have been actively engaged in promoting randomized clinical trials. We have initiated a food security program with IOFS, and then there is a distinguished, most importantly, we have launched a special program for Palestinian scholars, 500 fellowships for scholars in Gaza and West Bank. And recently we have initiated a program with Yemen, and that is a program which is largely focused on capacity building in science and technology and health in collaboration with the Health Science Academy and also the University of Lahore. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is a wonderful occasion for us to celebrate the achievements of our scholars. At the same time, it is a stark reminder that we need to invest in the best of what we have. What is the real asset of this nation, of this ummah, is primarily the younger people. And I think our emphasis should largely be on capacity building of young scholars. And that is what COMSTECH plays an especial emphasis. And then, I would like to acknowledge the untiring effort of my distinguished colleague, Dr. Khurshid Hasnan and COMSTECH team for organizing Global Al-Farabi Forum with excellence, as well as for today's ceremony, in partnership of the excellent team of Embassy of Kazakhstan in Islamabad. Last but certainly not least, we express our gratitude to our younger brother, a very dynamic ambassador, Excellency Yazan Kestafan, for his presence here. He has been a very strong supporter of COMSTECH, like many other ambassadors in Islamabad, and it is indeed an honor for us to work with him closely. I'm also grateful to all of you for your presence here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Iqbal. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the speaker today, Dr. Nazir Mahmood. Dr. Nazir Mahmood is a distinguished scholar and an educationist by profession and a writer by passion. He has studied at the University of Leeds and University of Birmingham, UK, from where he did his PhD in education management in 2005. Dr. Nazir has had a very active career in the education sector and is well known as a translator of books and as a writer of essays on history and politics. He has been contributing articles and essays to some of the leading English and Urdu newspapers of Pakistan, such as Dawn, Jung, and The News. His topics range from history, international relations and politics, to religion, education, and literature. Recently, he has been delivering locally a series of lectures on the themes and personalities of early Islamic philosophers, their uniqueness, and their invaluable contributions to the course of human knowledge and enlightenment. His lectures have generated much interest and discussions. I invite Dr. Nazir Mahmood for his introduction to the great Islamic philosopher Abu Nasr al-Farabi and for his comments on the proceedings of the Global Al-Farabi Forum. Dr. Nazir.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Dobre utra. I will be using languages other than English also for some time. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to briefly speak on this occasion. And I would like to start by congratulating and thanking not only COMSTECH, Dr. Khurshid Hasnan, Dr. Iqbal Chaudhary, the Embassy of Kazakhstan, and Honorable His Excellency Ambassador of Kazakhstan to Pakistan, Mr. Kestafan. It was a pleasant surprise when I received the proceedings of Al-Farabi World Forum. And when I was asked to deliver a speech, a brief speech on this occasion, I thought maybe it would be better to write my speech and get it published. So those who are interested, this is published in today's newspaper, The News, on Al-Farabi. And this is pretty much my speech that I'm going to talk about today. I will not deliver a speech because I myself don't like speeches. When you start delivering speeches, people start, tend to snooze and sleep. I will read some of the paragraphs from my article, which is supposed to be speech also, and then I will talk about it also. I think that would be a better option. So let me first read a couple of paragraphs and then I will briefly talk about them. Remembering great minds who contributed to the flourishing of civilizations is a commendable activity. It reminds us how hundreds of years ago, those who sought knowledge traveled across countries despite hardships in their journeys and the paucity of resources. Abu Nasr al-Farabi was one of such great personalities of the medieval period. Come to think of it, sometimes when I read about those philosophers, he lived in the 9th and 10th centuries. At that time, just think about traveling for not hundreds, but thousands of kilometers. No modern modes of transportation existed at that time. Think about the paucity of resources. We very often talk about paucity of resources, shortage of resources. Think about those people who did not have enough resources. Most of these people are not rich people. You talk about Al-Farabi, you talk about Al-Kindi, talk about Razi, Zakaria Razi or Ibn Sina. Most of these people were mostly, facing financial constraints. But still, they managed to travel, they managed to gain knowledge, and they managed to produce that much. So this is my starting point. Secondly, when you look at the proceedings, I am sure many of you have already had this opportunity to get this proceeding. If not, I would request you to get it because I have seen so many copies lying with Dr. Khurshid Hasnan. These copies are there. Why this is important? Because these proceedings actually help us, even those people who have not attended the forum. It becomes helpful because you need to revisit them again and again. It is not a one-off journey or one-off event that you attend a seminar, you attend a conference, and then you forget about it. Once you have the proceedings in your hand, these proceedings, the best thing about these proceedings is that it is a complete book. They have not only included papers by distinguished scholars, but they have actually also transcribed the discussions, and especially the last discussion. The last chapter of this proceeding is a discussion in which Dr. Iqbal Chaudhry and Dr. Nomanul Haq and Khurshid Hasnan Saab and many others distinguished scholars participated. And they dilated upon not only Farabi, but they also talked about what we can learn from him and how his ideas can be implemented in today's world, what is relevant and what is not relevant. So this is highly enlightening discussion that we must read. And before I forget, I must give this suggestion that this should be translated in Urdu and in other languages also, maybe Russian or Kazakh or Central Asian languages, and in other languages, and distributed widely. Because this is, I have tried to collect material on Al-Farabi from here and there, but the importance of this proceeding is that nowhere else you will find such comprehensive coverage of his personality. And another interesting thing and informative thing about this proceeding is that actually it seems, I'm not sure, but it seems when you read the proceedings, it seems that they have assigned different topics through two different scholars. Many times it happens that when you attend a conference or a seminar on one personality, most of the people start repeating the same thing. And that becomes a bit tiring. But in this proceeding, you will see a detailed article about Al-Farabi's contribution as a philosopher, and other detailed paper on Al-Farabi's contribution as a logician, as a mathematician, separate article, then a very detailed separate article on Al-Farabi's contribution as a musician, and other detailed paper on his contribution in astronomy, and how he differentiated between astrology and astronomy, and which he considered more useful. Then another very detailed article about probably his most important book or rather booklet. In fact, most of these were booklets that they used to call it risala on various topics. And these risalas are available. More than 100 risalas are available, his papers, booklets. And his papers on logic and all these topics, Kitab al-Musiqa, that is also available. So luckily, these things have been translated, and the commentaries that you read in these proceedings are very informative. So I would highly recommend that if you can get a copy of this, please keep it, read it, and please revisit it again and again. Now, coming back to what we can learn from Al-Farabi in this today's world, I think there are a couple of things I would like to dilate upon. Number one, I mentioned that, and I would like to repeat. They lived a very active life. So the first thing that I learned from these people, not only from Farabi, after reading these papers and discussions, and reading about other scholars also, that one needs to lead an active life. There is no room for lethargy. There is no room for laziness. There is no room for wasting your time. These polymaths, they could not have achieved that much unless they lived a very, very active life. So the first lesson that I learned that, we don't have time to waste at all. This is number one. Secondly, I would like to focus on a transition which they managed. There is a community of speech. I initially said that I don't like speeches. So what we do, we have community of speeches. We don't have community of discourse and debate. So what we need to learn, that we need to transform ourselves and our culture, our intellectual culture also, from a culture of speeches or community of speeches to community of discourse. Discourse and speech is not always the same thing. I don't want to go into the detail, but this distinction is important to keep in mind. Secondly, also a transition is required from a culture. Of course, we need conversation. Discourse is conversation, but a transition also from a culture of conversation to culture of composition. What that means? That means many of us talk but don't write. Many of us read but don't write. And this is not applicable only to Pakistani culture. This is, I think, most of Muslim societies. We have 57 Muslim countries around the world. And this has been a recurring topic. We talk about it again and again, that why 57 Muslim countries have achieved only a couple of Nobel Prizes in the world. And other countries like Israel, they have more than 150 Jewish community. If you compare Jews with Muslims, and they have written on that also in this, they have more than 150 in the last 100 years. They have more than 150 Nobel Prizes in various fields, and we have just a couple of them. So what is that? Probably we spend more time in conversation and speeches. We don't convert that into a culture of composition. So whatever we have, we need to probably put it down in writing. Then a culture of tolerance and openness. If that does not take place, it does not take roots in society, ultimately because culture of discourse needs what? Culture of discourse needs a tolerance for other people's ideas. If I think, and if my community thinks that whatever I am doing is right, then we are not going anywhere. What we learn from this, very, very important point to learn and remember, Al-Farabi gained his early education. His early teachers were Christians and Jews, and all the names are given here. So what that means, it was not simply a difference of religion. Of course, they tolerated each other. They sat together. They talked to each other. They learned from each other. So that is what tolerance is. So what that means, in other words, getting out of extremist mindset. Had they been extremist, probably they would not have learned anything. So this is the next lesson that I learned. Lastly, I would like to say that our top managers, those who control our finances, they need to also change. What that means? That means when we allocate our budgets, Muslim, out of 57 Muslim countries in the world, you look at how much they spend on education and how much they spend on other things, non-productive expenses. What we need more is we need a fundamental shift from spending on non-productive, non-developmental things to more substantive, intellectual, scientific. And when I say scientific, it does not mean that only applied and physical sciences. Farabi, Ibn Sina, Jabir bin Hayyan, they could achieve all this because they were also involved in social sciences. If you just focus on technology, you just focus on science, your epistemology is probably, epistemology means what do you count as knowledge and what you don't count as knowledge. Unless we are clear about that, and that we and our students can learn only by studying social sciences also. So just focusing on technical aspect and scientific aspect is not going to happen. There is not much time, though this is a topic close to my heart. Philosophy of that period is close to my heart, and one can talk for hours, but I would not like to take much of your time. These were some of the lessons that I learned and I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Nazir, for your very enlightening and fresh comments on Al-Farabi as well as on the proceedings. And we are very grateful for the thoroughness with which you have studied and discussed the proceedings. We will take very seriously your suggestion about its translation. We'll discuss it, and if it is indeed feasible, I think COMSTECH would have no problems doing it. Also, I guess one takeaway from your very many things that you mentioned in this important lecture is that we should not become blind to the connection between the social sciences and the physical sciences in developing an overall epistemology and an overall sense of what constitutes knowledge and how it is to be studied and how it is to be internalized, which is probably a problem that academics and I myself happen to be an academic, we have felt over time in many of our students and indeed in our universities. So with this, we come to the next part of this, and that is the presentation of the proceedings by the head of the COMSTECH, Mr. Iqbal Chaudhry, to the chief guest. I will request the gentleman to please step down from the stage so that it can be seen properly. So the presentation of the proceedings to the chief guest by the Coordinator General of COMSTECH, Professor Iqbal Chaudhry. And he will also be presenting to the chief guest a copy of COMSTECH's assessment of the science, technology, and innovation developments in Kazakhstan, which we are in the process of developing for all the countries. I now request the chief guest, His Excellency Mr. Yezan Christophin, Ambassador of the Republic of Kazakhstan, for his address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The participants of today's event. First of all, I would like to thank personally Dr. Iqbal Chowdhury and his brilliant team for organizing today's event and for their tireless efforts, and for the proceedings that we enjoy. I believe it's very important, Abu Nasr al-Farabi is a great scholar, scientist, thinker, philosopher, and I believe we should study his legacy, which could be and should be fruitful in the world today. So, as it was said in December, here in COMSTECH, thanks to support of the leadership of COMSTECH, we organized an international conference dedicated to the legacy of Al-Farabi. Last year, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of independence of our country. This year, we celebrate 30th anniversary of establishment diplomatic relations between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. So, as you see, we have a lot of, a number of very important milestones. And we will be celebrating this year, organizing different events dedicated to bilateral relations between Kazakhstan and Pakistan. And I must say that in response, our site is planning to organize in Kazakhstan a conference dedicated to the legacy of great thinker Allama Iqbal in Kazakhstan. And I hope that this event will take place, inshallah, in May. So what I'm trying to say is that we should study our great thinkers, our great philosophers, and I believe that their ideas, their, the way of think could be useful even in our world today. And Dr. Iqbal Chowdhury, in my strong opinion, represents the modern generation of scientists who continue these tireless efforts. Last year, as I said, we were celebrating our 30th anniversary of independence, and upon decision of our president, upon the decree of our president, it is a great honor for me to present a medal dedicated to our anniversary for great contribution to developing and strengthening bilateral ties between Kazakhstan and Pakistan, to Professor Dr. Iqbal Chowdhury, his tireless efforts again. And I must say that he works tirelessly, not in terms of developing science and technology, but also in terms of developing and strengthening ties between brotherly nations. And in January this year, our president several times mentioned that we should pay a very special attention to developing science and technology. He instructed our government to establish branches of the leading universities of the world and to develop technological universities in our country. He strongly believes that our young generation should be mainly focused on science and technology, because if we want to develop our country's science and technology is a future for any country. And in this term, I must say that our collaboration with COMSTECH, our bilateral cooperation with Pakistan will be only strengthening. I'll give you just another example. In December, we signed an MOU between Quaid-e-Azam University and Kazakh British Technical University. And this year, probably in February, they will be organizing a roundtable dedicated to cooperation between our universities in science and technology. So as you can see, it's a very important area for strengthening our ties. And I believe with the great contribution of Dr. Iqbal Chowdhury, our cooperation will be even better and even stronger. So it is my great pleasure and honor to present our medal to Professor Dr. Iqbal Chowdhury. Signed by the President. Yeah, sure, sure. We can do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Ambassador. And we come now to the final part of this function, as closing remarks and expression of thanks by the Auditor General of COMSTECH. Okay, Balchul.
Thank you, sir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency, Chief Guest, Excellencies, scholars, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so absolutely humbled to receive very prestigious national award from the government of Republic of Kazakhstan. I feel fortunate that I have been selected for this high level of recognition from a country which is very close to my heart. I first visited Almaty back in 1998, and I have seen the transformation of Kazakhstan in terms of economic development as well as in scientific development. I was a member of a delegation of scientists from different disciplines. There were many mathematicians, there was pharmacologists, people from the field of physics and others, and I was representing chemistry and biochemistry. Out of so many disciplines, our collaboration in the field of chemistry and biochemistry is phenomenally successful, as number of books were published representing science and technology cooperation between the two countries. Since then, I've been working closely with many academic and research institutions in Kazakhstan, including Al-Farabi, Kazakh National University, Phytochemistry Institute of Karaganda, Nur Sultan University, Institute of Biochemistry, as well as Eurasian University, and have trained over 100 young Kazakh scholars in the field of chemical and biochemical sciences. As a result of that, over 24 of PhDs were awarded, perhaps the largest number of PhDs ever supervised by a foreign scientist in Kazakhstan. I was also able to establish 2 laboratories, one in Kazanyu, Al-Farabi University in Almaty, with the support of Islamic Development Bank. This is state-of-the-art, high-level laboratory on natural product chemistry, and a mirror laboratory in Karachi at the ICCBS, which is called Pak Kazakh Laboratory on Natural Product Sciences. I was also able to contribute in the strengthening of Phytochemistry Institute and Karaganda, which is a premier institution. I was in the panel of referees who finally decided to give the Best Science Institution Award to Biochemistry Institute of Kazakh National Academy of Sciences in Almaty. I'm extremely honored to receive an honorary degree of science from, I was Very honored to receive honorary degree of science from a prestigious University of Kazinu in 2017, along with a lifetime appointment as a professor of bioorganic chemistry. I teach chemistry every year, and my last course for Kazakh students had ended only last month. I am absolutely delighted, and I'm extremely grateful to the people and government of Kazakhstan for giving me all these laurels and recognizing my humble contribution towards your great nation. I look forward to see Kazakhstan progressing and contributing in the development of Muslim Ummah. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you, Professor Iqbal. And with this, we come to the end of this ceremony. And let me once again thank all of the participants who attended this and who spoke on the occasion. And before I request you all to join us for refreshments, we will go outside for a group photograph. So please step outside the building for the group photograph to be followed by the refreshments. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much for taking the time out to attend this function. We will be highly encouraged by your participation. And thank you very much. And I will request the people on the stage to stay back for a few minutes. So please go ahead for the photograph.